What is up, everybody? This is Carl from Techful Goodies, and today we are looking at something that I think is pretty unique and interesting to talk about, okay? This is the Bigme Hibreak e-ink smartphone. E-ink just basically means electronic ink, so you have a normal LCD, you have OLED, you have plasma screens, you have all sorts of different screens, but this is e-ink. So it's e-ink in a phone. So for example, I think we all know what a Kindle is, right? A standard black and white Kindle where you can read your ebooks and all that kind of stuff, and it just basically has a screen that is supposed to resemble paper. This is a phone that also has an e-ink screen. So right now it is off, but you can still see the whole screen here because the way e-ink works is once it pushes that image to the screen, it kind of just activates all those specific pixels and it just stays there. It doesn't need extra power to keep it going. So if I turn it on, you can see that it refreshes and gets a little bit brighter. So in this sort of review of this, I kind of want to talk about what to expect if you get something like this and what might take a little bit of time to get used to if you're using something like an iPhone and an Android phone, which you probably are. So the idea behind this type of screen is kind of scaling back your digital life, right? This is not going to be a screen where you're going to be watching TikTok, YouTube, just doing all sorts of stuff on it. It's something to kind of get you to step back from just being addicted to your phone. What you might end up doing is when you go to do something on your phone, instead of jumping on something like brain rot TikTok, you can go ahead and pop open like the Kindle app or their own little bookshelf app here where you can load your own books in. So for example, I'm going to load their PDF, right? So this is basically their user manual. So you can see as I'm going through, if you are reading on this screen, it is good sort of for your eyes and eye strain. Now to go over some of the specs on this, I'll go ahead and read them here. So this is a color e-ink display, right? You're not going to get vivid colors like an iPhone or an Android phones, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the display size is 5.84 inches. Resolution is 720 by 1440, so not a very high resolution, but it doesn't need to be. It does have an adjustable backlight, 2.4 and 5G Wi-Fi. This is a 4G telephone. Now, when you think about, oh, I need the 5G, I need it to be fast, you don't, because you're not going to be on this all the time, just surfing the web and stuff like this. This is really just something that you're going to have in your pocket that's unique and is able to be used for like communications and just, you can use it like a normal phone, but it is an e-ink screen. And I'll show you some of the quirks about an e-ink screen here in a minute. It does support Bluetooth, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, but you can't upgrade that with like a micro SD card. It does have dual cameras, front and rear. It does do GPS, and you can use it in Google Maps if you want. The interesting thing about this, though, is that it is Android 11. That's something to keep in mind, and I think the reason that is because it keeps kind of like the features at a minimum, so you have better battery life. We're up to Android, I think 14 now, so it is Android 11 Type-C charging, 3,300 milliamp hour battery. So there is a lot of good specs, and the cool thing about this is that there's not a lot of e-ink phones out there. There's like 1 or 2 different e-ink phone tablets and stuff like that. So this is very unique in the way that they have this set up, and I'm really excited to see something like this because I think it's an opportunity to use something that's just a little bit different. So as I'm scrolling through here, the one thing I can do, like normal Android, is I can slide down from the top and I can take the brightness all the way down if I want to. Now you can still see the screen just fine. And in fact, if you're outdoors or in a brightly lit area, you don't have to have the backlight on at all, which saves your battery. So you're gonna have a really long battery life with this if you're using it. I'll go ahead and pop it up just maybe to about 50% battery. But you get all the same sort of control center type things that you do with Android on this phone because it is running Android. Now, the interesting thing to note about this is that typically on Android, you would have like a small little thing on the bottom here that allows you to go back to the home screen or go back or whatever. The way you go back to the home screen is you just slide up with your finger there. If you want to, you can slide down from the top, like I said, and get the control center. And then you also have access to the full App Store. Now, the App Store, the Google Play Store, the way that works is that it's going to limit what you can download based on the Android system that you're running. We are running Android 11, but I found that in general, I saw all the apps that I really wanted to be able to use on this phone. If you go ahead and slide over here, you can see I went ahead and installed YouTube, Chrome, Maps, Gmail, and stuff like that. So if you're opening up Gmail, so you have the same functionality that you have on your normal smartphone, but it's just a little bit of a different type of display. So let me show you how that works. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up Chrome here, and I'm going to go to, let's say, Amazon. So now you can see that it is a color display, but you're not getting like crazy vibrant colors because it is e-ink. You can see that this is a little bit blue and this is a little bit yellow over here. So it does show the contrast, but with this screen, you're getting a slower refresh rate. So let me go ahead and scroll. It's not that the phone isn't strong enough to be able to power scrolling through a website. It's the fact that the refresh rate on the e-ink is actually fairly slow. And this is really fast actually compared to a lot of different e-ink things that I've tried before. But you can see I can go ahead and scroll through, look at different things on Amazon if I want to. I can use it just like a normal phone and it works just fine. One thing that I have noticed in this is that if I want to, I can slide down from the top and I can go to e-ink center. And that allows me to go to a custom setting for the e-ink. I can change the different settings and the refresh mode and the color adjust. So I can change it from fast to extreme refresh rate. All right, so with the extreme refresh rate, you can see now that I'm scrolling on here, it's actually a little bit better. And to go back, again, you can actually slide from the right side and do that, and it just goes back instead of having the button on the bottom. This is the difference now. You can see that it's actually a really impressive refresh rate for e-ink screen. Now that is going to affect your battery life, not by like a ton, but it is. So do you need that fast refresh rate? I'm not sure. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back to not extreme. I'll just go back to fast. There is slower modes, but who wants to do that? But so far, I think it's pretty usable. When it comes to like an e-ink phone like this, it's a very unique experience. And you have to decide, okay, do I want to dumb down my phone experience? They call them dumb phones, and I think that's a bad terminology because it's not dumb. It's a smartphone. But when they say dumb, it means you're not having so much stimulation or sensory overload when you're using your phone all the time, and you don't get as addicted to just being on here and staring at it. And then if you do like to read ebooks and stuff like that, it becomes even better. Even if you're reading websites, newspaper websites, any sort of websites, it just gives you a better experience as far as the visuals go. And again, you have all the apps that you could possibly want, and same sort of experience on a phone, just with the e-ink display. So it does come with this little case. Let me go ahead and take this off. So this is kind of like I guess like a silicone case, and it is protective. And so here is the device itself. So the entire outside shell is not metal, it is plastic, but it doesn't feel bad. It actually is very, very light. There's like a textured back here. So it does have a back camera and a front camera, so you can do your selfies and stuff like that. And that's interesting. We'll give that a test here in a second. It does have the power button, the volume buttons on the side here, and then another action button over here on the side, and as well as your little SIM carriage case. And I think that's where the TF card goes also. So let's take a look at the camera, right? So one of the things that you're gonna notice is that your picture on the screen here is going to look like this. So let me go ahead and take a picture of Mr. Turtle here. Okay, I took that picture, and then I'll also take a picture of the Rooster Man here, because that's a lot of colors, okay? So looking on the screen here, you're gonna see that the screen displays it like this, but I'll toss the actual picture up of both of these so you can see what they look like after the picture has been taken. You're just using this to take some pictures here and there, recreational pictures and stuff like that. So the fact that it has those cameras, and let me go ahead and take a front selfie so you can also see what that looks like from the front camera. There we go. I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, beautiful picture, Carl. All right, so let me go ahead and show you something like YouTube. And when I showed this to my son, he looked at it and he goes, I would watch YouTube on there like that. I have no issue with it. It just gives you the opportunity to watch a video, but it's not going to be that super high resolution. So let me pull up Techful Goodies. All right, here we go. So playing a video, you can see, and I think if I updated the refresh rate to be a little bit more of that extreme mode, that you would get maybe a little faster frame rate while looking at this. But the interesting thing about this is that it doesn't have speakers here on the bottom. The only speaker that you have is coming out of right here. So you're not going to get just a very loud blasting sound. You're going to be able to hear it, but it is going to be just from that one spot. And so let me go ahead and turn it up all the way. That you can end up buying is that it's not universal. universal across the board and they need their own apps. It doesn't particularly work with Google. And one of the things I wanted to mention was my sister just got herself a Kindle, which I was looking at and I thought, wow, that's really cool. I had a Kindle in the past, but this was kind of like, maybe about this much bigger and this much taller. She reads a lot of books. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be interesting, to take something like this and use this as your everyday driver, but then also be able to use it to read books on. If you're okay with this smaller form factor, I think it would be a big winner. And it's pretty affordable for an Android phone. Another thing that I wanted to make sure to mention here so that you understand is that when this is on, the screen is updating. But when it goes into standby mode, whatever was on that screen is going to stay there. So you can see I have my entire sort of screen that is still there, but it's not going to update. That 110 clock that you see there, that is going to stay at 110. You're not going to see it updated. I think there are some settings that you might be able to change to be able to get it to update. But the reason that is because what I said before, which is once e-ink written to the screen, it then stays there permanently until you change it with the software. And that's to save the battery life, okay? So right now I have this as my screensaver, but what I would actually do is go into settings, go down to screensaver, and I would just go ahead and pick, like, I don't know, an image. You can select whatever image you want. I'll go ahead and use this dog. And then when it's off, you can see that it pops over to the little puppy. So you have a little image you can have on there, and then if you don't have to worry about it refreshing, and you're saving your battery while you're using. Again, this is the Hibreak by Bigme. It is an e-ink phone, and I think it's definitely worth checking out if it's something that appeals to you. Thanks to them for sending this over. They sent it over for me to try out and share with you, and I thought, I love to show unique stuff on here, stuff that you may not or may not know actually exists. If this helped you out, give me a like, subscribe. I'd love to see you back. But until next time, this is Carl from Techful Goodies, and I'm out.